Florida with a 2-point lead and 20 seconds left to go. Here's the final play as described that sent Houston to a loss and Florida to the national championship.
Pryor, 6 seconds to go. 5 seconds to Sharp. Top of the key. Lost the dribble. He's got to pick it up. It's scooped up by Condon. Condon secures it. And Florida found a way. From 12 down to the school's third national championship in men's basketball. 65-63 the final. The Florida Gators are the national champions once again.
Westwood won on the call. Florida wins. And before we get to the Houston part of it, let me just say this, because I was so happy for Walter Clayton because he had an abysmal night, right? He had an abysmal night tonight. No points in the first half. It took him a while to even dent the scoreboard. His first free throw, I came with like 13 minutes left in the game. Now, he did wind up scoring 11 points, did dish out a bunch of assists, but this is Walter Clayton, who has been the James Harden of the NCAA tournament, right?
I thought we saw at one point that he'd gone 16 minutes of game time without a shot. That's how well they blanketed
him. Yeah,
he
was 0 for 4 forever. It's one of those situations where you want to keep hitting refresh on your computer going, oh, for some reason, must not have refresh.
I got to be on a bad
still
server,
0 for 4.
right?
He's still 0 for 4, 0 for 4. He had a bad game, and I'm just thinking he's the big star of the championship game. And if he goes down with a game where he scores 4 points and he's, 1 for 11 from the floor, how do you get past this, right? That's a difficult thing to have to live. I was the best player, and they completely stopped me, and I had a horrible game in the national championship.
Well,
right?
look at what they did all weekend, and I'm sure some folks today with Cooper Flagg for missing a shot. Right? Like he finished with 27, had the game he did on Saturday night, but still it became an indictment of his draft stock, his toughness, his ability to make things happen, whatever else. For Clayton, amplify it because, he became the face of this tournament.
I mean, and he had a miserable game. Nothing, even his final numbers, like, wow, that's what, that was his game. However, he made the play that won them the national championship. He made the play that won them the title because he was the one that leaped out on the three that made the shot. I would say made it go, but it didn't matter because, Sharp just dropped the ball. Him leaping out at Sharp for that three made him drop the basketball and pull it back down, thinking twice about taking that shot because it's not going to go. Again, no confidence that Houston had down the stretch of making shots, and you get a situation at the end of a game where nobody feels confident about taking a shot, and clearly whatever play they had drawn up was terrible because you can't tell me that with 19 seconds, that's the look that Kelvin Sampson wanted. But Clayton comes out, and he leaps out at Sharp, and Sharp second guesses himself and drops the basketball, and that's the game, right? Condon jumps on it, but that's the game. It's over. He makes the play of the game. He wins the national championship with a defensive effort on a night where it was miserable for him. And I am so proud of that. I'm so proud of that moment because that's something that if I'm him, I think about that forever. Yeah, I had an ass game in the national championship game, but show this highlight. Who came out and jumped out on that three and made sure that this game was going our way. He makes the play of the game without even touching the basketball. Right. He makes the play of the game by jumping out on that three. That I can't tell you how proud for a great player like that to find a way to still win the game when it's not your night. That is really special.
Sharp gets the ball, looks to create. He's got a few seconds left on the clock. And then you force it just with that flash. Now, we talked about it last hour, playing D, and he'd piled up a number of assists and a couple of rebounds. And to have that play become the signature of his entire performance for this national title run is really amazing. Right, because coming into the game was he needs this many points to be the all-time leader, this, that, the other, and going by minutes played and whatever else. And to be shut out in the first half, come back as he did, and to still have the wherewithal. And for Sharp, it's the worst, the other side of the extreme, because he was the guy that hit that huge shot off the inbound steal to make it a 3-point game and give them that chance to come back and knock off Duke on Saturday. And then you have this, just the yin and yang of this energy and the way these games go. Hotly contested. Boy, certainly thrilling for us. I mean, if you were just box score watching, you were saddened because you just saw woeful shooting percentages and some plays along the way, that we'll certainly highlight. But that final shot attempt that doesn't even you don't even get an attempt on because Clayton flashes in the last second. I'd be curious to see what the play was as to where he was looking, if he had a cutter down low or what the idea was.
It just looked like it was panic.
And they just lost the ball.
Like whatever they had drawn up, Florida clearly either anticipated it or Houston couldn't execute it. And again, you go back to the confidence level. This is not an offensive game. In a defensive game, if you're up, you want to be up by one, let the other team take the final shot. If it's an offense, if it's 86-83, or 86-84, you want to have the ball at the end because, you got a lot of guys putting the ball in the bucket. And you had nobody doing it, at least with any sort of consistency where, give me the ball, I can make a shot. And clearly, Sharp didn't want to take it. I'm going to take this shot. No, Clayton's going to leap out at me and block this shot, so I'm going to let the ball drop. Like they were so bamboozled at that point. Like mentally, I don't know where Houston was on the court on that final play. I really don't know where they were because that's not how you execute at the end of the game.
But that's the thing. It's the antithesis of everything. And certainly you wore it on social media off of your tweet on Saturday, which I'm sure you're getting your just revenge on folks now because everything that
I'll get it now for sure. I'll get it now for sure.
Talking about meltdowns and toughness, intestinal fortitude, 40 minutes of hell, finishing. All of that is still true, except the excellence of execution here in the final seconds goes awry for a veteran-laden squad. And feel for Sharp. They showed him going down the tunnel with his jersey over his face, being guided back into the locker room. But for Florida, I mean, they finished shooting under 40% for the night, 39.6. Take care of business at the free throw line, 17 of 21. For Houston, you shot 34.8%. So credit the Florida Bigs. They did their share of alteration. And three-point shooting both sides was just terrible.
Look, and that's the other part for Florida, right? Because we have time to get to the Houston part. That's the other part for Florida. With about 7 or 8 minutes left to go, this was a game where the second half, Florida came back a bit. Houston would they would go on a little bit of a run. Mm-hmm. Houston gets a bucket or two. They hit a couple of free throws. They're keeping Florida at bay. But right around the 7 or 8 minute mark left in the second half, all of a sudden, the presence of Florida's bigs got even larger. They were altering shots down low. They were preventing Houston from getting into the paint for shots. They were making shots offensively. They were open at the end of shot clocks for, hey, with everybody jumping out, they have it. No, we'll make that one. Florida making that one extra pass. So you had an open dunk or a layup. Just the presence of the bigs, whether it was Houston getting tired or getting frustrated offensively, but the presence of the bigs really just flipped that game the last 7-8 minutes. I can't tell you. And it's not like anybody went on a big run. It's not like you can point out guys who had a big game. Just the presence of them, you could see that Houston offensively had no confidence. Defensively, they had no answers because they're trying to get out on the perimeter. You still think it's a Clayton game. You still think the guards are going to do it. And when they needed the big hoop, hey, we can still go down low to our guys. I mean, really, it was some kind of last 7 or 8 minutes from the Florida bigs, man.
Yeah, really just going back to, we had a total of 11 shots blocked, 6 for Houston, 5 for the Gators. But I'd be curious, the shot alterations, because we also looked at, you're talking about Houston losing a game where they had 15 offensive rebounds.
Yeah.
15.
Yeah.
They doubled up what Florida was able to do in that category. A slight rebounding edge, just one for Florida for the game. But 15 offensive rebounds to have those point-blank put-back attempts and opportunities. So for the Florida bigs, you can't say enough about what they were able to do to just make sure that even if you gave up the second chance, you didn't give up the second chance points.